Hello readers and writers, let's have a reading blog. So, I started this vlog 24 hours ago, and when my SD card filled up, I went to go transfer it over to my external hard drive, only to realize the entire time I was filming, it was filming in slow motion. So none of that film, well, for the most part, is usable. I may see if I can salvage any of it, because 24 hours of vlogging. So the idea of this vlog is that I am reading Brandon Sanderson's fourth secret novel, as well as Ray Bradbury's book. Ray Bradbury's book From the Dust Returned, which is one of the books on my TBR for October. And though Sanderson's book is not on my TBR for October officially, I mean, it was released at this morning, and so was always meant for me to be read, because I've read all the other three the day they were released, or at least started them. And so the fourth secret novel of Brandon Sanderson is The Sunlit Man. So today I have been reading and doing updates that you will not see. I was filming YouTube videos that will not go out because none of those made it. Thankfully, I have some other videos I can edit and put those up for tomorrow, because I'm at 39 o'clock at night. And then I was taking you through my day as I was getting ready for the week, getting all of my social media stuff done. I've gotten posts for Instagram done, posts for TikTok done, and I have, of course, one of the most important aspects of this vlog was me getting ready to release Neurodiverse, my third book. So I officially have a cover for it. It will be revealed by the time you see this, and there was a YouTube video created to help announce it, but I'm going to have to refilm that. But here is the cover, and it is going to be releasing on November 14th of this year. So in a little over a month. Right now there is a pre-order price going for $2.99. So if you order it between now and before November 14th, you will get that special pre-order price for the ebook. And I'm very, very excited for it to release. And I've been working on all my social media platforms, getting it announced. I've got it set up on Amazon so that it can actually be pre-ordered. I actually just got the email saying that it's gone through just in time, since I'm doing the cover reveal tomorrow. And it's been a very, very eventful day that I brought you all for, and you are really not going to see any of it. So why don't I tell you about Sanderson's book? Alright, we have a new battery, so let's talk about The Sunlit Man. I have been reading this off and on all day today since it released, actually at 11 o'clock my time last night, which is when I went and downloaded it and got very excited, and read about, I don't know, 60 pages? No, 40 pages before I ended up going to bed. But I'm currently on 320 pages, which is about 71% of the book. So I'm hoping that I can finish it tonight. I don't think there's anything else major book related I need to get done. Oh, I need to edit a YouTube video that I now have to piece together, since the one that I was planning to edit is not usable. So I do have to edit, get some stuff done for YouTube. Then I'm gonna have to film at some point in the week. I don't know when that's gonna happen, but I need a video for Wednesday, so that's fun times. But alright, let's actually talk about this book. So this is the fourth and last book of the secret novels. This is definitely is directly related to the Stormlight Archives, which is Sanderson's like big main series that is ongoing now. And I think this is a prequel to it, but I'm not entirely sure about that. We're following a main character called Nomad, who has a spirit with him that can change into different tools and such. And something happened between them that he we don't exactly know what exactly has happened. There's still a lot of mystery around this like Nomad character. And I'm reading it and thinking that I should know who this is. But I finally caved and did a little bit of Google research and decided that I should not know who this is. And that maybe at the end of the novel I will know who it is. So we'll see how that goes. I also in the Google search did read that this is one that he wrote to read before Stormlight, so that it's not supposed to be spoiler if people haven't read the Stormlight Archives yet. And I could see that, but also having read currently up to date, I kind of see where they're alluding to as I'm reading it, where I don't think I would have even that context. I could be so confused. Like it took me 30% of the novel to feel like I had a bearing of what I was reading, and which was a very, very long time. And now I kind of feel like I'm in the world, but I feel like I'm not as connected with Sanderson's works like I normally am. Like Sanderson's usually very descriptive, and I get a lot of this is not very descriptive. But I actually didn't really like the start of the book. It was extremely gendered for some reason, unnecessarily so. Sanderson's usually pretty good. I mean, he doesn't obviously, like, he doesn't include trans characters, trans non-binary characters. He still sticks to the male-female binary. But he's not usually, like, very blatant about it. Like, he uses they pronouns when he doesn't know the gender of something, typically. But in the very beginning of this book, it was very blatantly male or female, very binary, when there was no reason to be, because there were no identifiable features around people. And that's very unlike Sanderson's writing, and I didn't like it, especially since one of the reasons why I commend Sanderson is because he does still write in a way that is inclusionary, even though religiously he is, part of the LDS faith. And for those of you who don't know, that is the religion that I grew up with, so I have a lot of trauma from that. And just to see, to have his writing still not be exclusionary was, I appreciate that. And then to start this book and it to be very exclusionary was very, I didn't like it. And it was very not Sanderson-like. But lots of the lack of details is not Sanderson-like. And it just, I don't know, the book just seems more rushed, which is sad because it seems like such an important book. To be connected to the Stormlight Archives. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It did get more fleshed out and better as I went on. I'm definitely a lot more connected into the book now than when I first started. But again, 70% in, and I'm just now getting a description for a setting that's been there for almost the entire book. And it just clicked into place. And it was just see, it's not just me as the reader. But it's also the 4th, and I wonder if it got rushed a little bit in the editing, trying to get everything done. Maybe a little bit too fast of the timeline. I don't know. Alright, so my plan for tonight is I've got to get a video edited so that it's ready to go up tomorrow, and I need to finish reading the last 30%. So I will try and connect in with you when I'm finished with this, so at least I have multiple connection points since, you know, all my footage from today is lost. And yeah, I will see you then. It is now Monday. I'm about to start work, but before I did, I want to update you since I did not do so last night. I did stay up reading The Sunlit Man and finished it. So I read it in one day. I haven't done that in a while, so especially to a 446 page book. So I'm kind of a little proud of myself, especially with everything else I got done yesterday. Morning me, a little less proud of myself. Definitely having a book hangover this morning, but worth it. The book. Okay, I'm still not 100% sure who the character is, but he was named. So I'm gonna have to go Google search just to make sure who I'm thinking is the correct person. Again, not like massively in the fandom, so I don't remember all the names. I mean, there's only like a million in the Stormlight archives. So I do feel like people should be disappointed in me because I not only didn't figure it out earlier, but like still after reading it have to make sure. But such is life. Wow, I'm functioning very well. I mean, I do have work today, so that of course is going to be my prime thing. My cover reveal is today, so I'm very, very excited about that. And then the other goal is to pick up Bradbury's From the Dust Returns. It's only a 200-page book, so maybe with everything I can still get it read today. We will find out. Hoping so. But now I have to go to work. So I'm only gonna be able to read probably on my lunch. So we'll see how much I get done then, and I will check in with you later tonight. So at lunch I was able to pick up a little bit of Bradbury's book From the Dust Returns. I've read about, what is it, 30-40 pages. It's a very fast read, and it's very fairy tale-esque. The whole book is about 200 pages, so I'm already like a fourth of the way through, and I already have two really big problems with it. So to caveat this, it looks like this book was originally written in about 1950, but it was published in 2000. So while it wasn't one of his newest books written, it's one of his newest books published. Probably, you know, as he was getting older, they were publishing some of his older works, and maybe some of them shouldn't have been published, or should have been reworked before they were published. So this book starts out with like an ode to Egypt and Egyptian culture, but it's taking that kind of ambiance and then putting it in Illinois, USA, and it has a debate about where, as a white author, it is acceptable to take other individuals' culture. Because is this like an ode to Egyptian culture, or is it appropriation of Egyptian culture? It seems more like appropriation to me. So that had me very concerned, but I kept reading, and it became like, while the core of it seems to be a lot of Egyptian culture, like now that we're getting away from like the more fairy tale-esque type writing and into an actual plot, it seems less inspired by that. So I don't know if that makes it better or not. I'm still kind of concerned by that. But then another problem came, and this is, I don't know how spoilery this is or not. Probably pretty, but I don't know how like to explain the problem without like explaining what happened in the story. So there is a person that can travel and inhabit another person's body, and she wants to fall in love, but she can't fall in love because if she does, she will lose her powers. So she goes and takes over another young woman, and against this other young woman's like desire, has her go out on a date. This other person specifically says how much they do not like this person, how much they've already like declined this invitation, how much they did not want to be there, they're not interested. And then on the date there is kissing, and it's not consensual. It is forced by this other person, and it's gross. It is gross reading it. It is disgusting, and it's not like written like it's supposed to be disgusting. It's written like it's, oh, this is supposed to be a sweet fairy tale, and we have grown past this as a society, and this is the problem with not growing past it in publishing. Because yes, Ray Bradbury is one of the most famous science fiction authors, but I don't care if you're trying to like scrape his work to get more books published before he passed. This should have been flagged as a problem. I'm reading it sick to my stomach. This person is like, no, I don't want to do this. Don't make me do this. And the other person is like, but I want to fall in love. And it is an example of like forced sexual assault, and it's gross. So 50 pages into the book, and I have questions about cultural appropriation and forced sexual assault by a cis white male author. Maybe we need to question who our book heroes are as a society. I will say, after this book, the next one I'm going to pick up, which was not my TBR, but I just hauled, was an Illumina Crate book that was Egyptian inspired, written by an Egyptian author, and I feel like as a reader I need to read that, because that is what I should be supporting. So I don't know what the other book I'm going to pick up is, but I'm really disappointed because Ray Bradbury, I mean, I haven't read him in years, but I remember how much in middle school he was held to the epitome. I mean, he's written some of the great science fiction classics. I am going to finish this. I do think this section of it is done, and I'm going to finish out the rest of this book to see what I think about it as a whole. So I will probably catch you a little bit after work, so I'll have time to like read some more before I check in. So it is still Monday, and it's about 9 o'clock. I'm not entirely sure, but give or take, it's about 9 o'clock, and I have finished Ray Bradbury's book, From the Dust Returned. And I have thoughts. One, this was an excellent book to pick for October, at least vibe-wise. It is exactly what I was going for, and what Ray Bradbury was going for when he wrote it. I would say it's kind of got cross between Addams Family Ghost Story, like, how do I say this? Addams Family tells a ghost story kind of vibe. So in that regard, absolutely spot on. From learning more about the book, a lot of the book was written in short stories, then more short stories were written and then kind of formed into a book. And the book itself was formed back in like 1949, so just before the 1950s. Which, when you think about it, is, like 70 years ago from our time. And thankfully the world has grown a lot since then. But the book wasn't published in 1949. It was published in 2000 in collaboration with Bradbury and some publishing house that was somehow connected to a person that was going to publish it with him originally. I'm not sure. And so some of the chapters themselves were actually already published as short stories. I get there's a difference between 1949 and 2000s, but no one stopped to think that, hey, maybe we need to think about what we're writing in the time that we're writing it. Like, I think we all understand what was acceptable in the 1940s is not acceptable now. I mean, it shouldn't have been acceptable then, but it was commonplace and practiced. Like, so there's behavior that exists now that is unacceptable. There's hate, there's discrimination. None of that is okay. And all of that still continues now, but we're calling it out. Or at least some of us. Some are calling it out. Like, there was a book influencer that called out a publishing house because in Black History Month, the only romance book that they were publishing with black characters was written by a white author. So there's no black authors being published on Black History Month. They were just passing it off by a white author, and that isn't acceptable. And that influencer called them out. I mean, rightfully so, and I do not read romance. So I think the likelihood of me picking up that book is slim to none. But I also think that it is a conversation that needs to be had, both from me as a writer and as a reader. And so these conversations are extremely important, and maybe because of social media we get to have them. Just as well, social media gives the downsides of it, the trolls, the hate, all of that as well. But I think that discourse makes us stronger as a society. And the fact that in 2000, nobody thought to think about, hey, maybe we should revise this book before we actually publish it. That, to me, is a problem. And, well, we know there's problematic stuff in books that were published back in the 1950s. What you hope to see is at least growth in authors. Like, we're humans. Humans are not always amazing. But the one thing that is amazing about being human is that we continually get to grow. I'm so happy that I don't have to be where I am right now, and that I can continue to grow as a human being. Because I know that I still need to grow, and I will always need to grow as a human being. And to see that no one thought that maybe this book needed to grow because so much had changed in the 50 years from when it was written, from when it was published, that concerns me. And that Ray Bradbury himself apparently hadn't changed enough in 50 years to think, hey, maybe some of this is problematic. Okay, so what did I find problematic? I already talked about the one scene where basically someone was, well, basically nothing. Someone was being controlled into sexual assault. It was kissing, but that is sexual assault. Person specifically said no, and someone controlled her to make it happen. That was gross. It was gross to read. that same character continued to control people to do problematic stuff, and on one hand you can kind of argue that this is a horror story, so maybe that, you know, maybe that falls in it. But I would also argue that none of her behaviors served a greater purpose in the plot of the book at all. None of them actually circled around. There was no point to them except that she is kind of horrible. But the thing is she wasn't actually portrayed as horrible in the book, and I think that's what concerns me, is the behaviors were horrible, but she was not portrayed as horrible. And I don't know, other people can disagree with me, always, of course. The first scene especially, to me, is extremely problematic and should have either been taken out or rewritten. But then, some of the language used in this book. So, there is references to mental health facilities where they're just called things I'm not going to say, and they were used as like this eerie plot vibe. And in the 2000s, we knew better. I know because I was very involved in different areas around then. So, like, it's not that we didn't have the language or the conversations to say that this isn't appropriate, that this language isn't appropriate in the 2000s. We absolutely had it, and to include that in there, again, it was just a great factor, and it was unacceptable. And then there was, like, just like almost racial slang, and it's stuff that I remember saying when I was growing up in the 80s, which is not appropriate. Like now we say crisscross applesauce. Well, not me, but my kids growing up said crisscross applesauce to sit cross-legged. That is not what I said as a child. And that kind of like just racial colloquialism that was inappropriately used when I was a kid, and probably even more so in the 50s, is just littered throughout this book. And I know we have grown enough as a society, because in the 2000s, when my children were growing up, again, they said crisscross applesauce when they went to sit down because they knew the other terminology was not appropriate. And yet, stuff like that is littered throughout this book. So, I think they did a disservice to not allow the book to grow before they published it. And it's really kind of disheartening to me, because I don't want to say like otherwise, because those are huge issues, but if they had like examined this book and said, hey, maybe we should make it better before publishing it, this is like the epic ghost tale. This is a great conversation, like gothic family vibes, and there's great parts. I really like the end of it, like almost the moral lesson of it. And I think this would definitely go down as one of my favorite October reads, except that they didn't let it grow and realize, hey, we need to look at the problems that are in this novel. And I think it would be a very different conversation if this novel was published back in 1949. But it wasn't. It was published in 2000. And I'm hung up on that, obviously. That no one had the hard conversations, to even think to have the hard conversations to make this book better. And I am very disheartened by Ray Bradbury that in that 50 years he hadn't grown enough as an author to like think that maybe we should revise some of this before it got published. Yeah, it's a very long conversation for what should have been an epic Halloween book. I would love to know your thoughts on this. If you've read this book specifically, your take on it. If not, what are your thoughts on novels that were published, 50 years ago, or in this case, written 70 years ago, and published 20 years ago, 23 years ago? Do they still have an obligation to the standards that we have as a society now? I would say to a degree, yes, because it's human standards. And in this case, again, 2000. It was published in 2000. And no one was like, hey, we should just really, really check to make sure that... Okay. Anyways, on this note, I'm going to end this vlog. I don't know if these books were really a success. Actually, probably not. Which I'm really sad about. Sanderson, I think I ended up giving like a 4-star rating. I think it started off slow. It could have been better at the start, but by the end, I thought it was great. I think if I truly was part of the fandom of the Stormlight Archives instead of just like, a dabbler, then it would be even better. So, now no discounting that. Although I do think Sanderson has written better books, including all of the secret novels, even though I didn't necessarily enjoy them all. I think they were all better written. But then, Ray Bradbury's, I'm going to have to go with It's a Miss, because, yeah, because of a lot of very complicated issues and topics that I think we still need to talk about, and we still need to call publishing out on so that they can continue to do better. So, this is where I'm going to end it, and I will be doing another vlog soon with more of my October reads. So, as always, keep reading, keep writing, and until next time.